Gotta get new volume.
To keep my tanks from getting frightful, that's the sand that makes it delightful. It's just I got nowhere to go. Get the hose, let it blow, let it blow. It doesn't show signs of stopping. Water change just keeps it popping. Make sure your lights are way down low. Get the hose, let it blow, let it blow. When we finally bid each other good night, we can join the Discord forum, making fish keeping your daylight. Make sure to keep your fishies warm. Now our troubles are sliding. No more plants and fish are dying. As long as we have Bobby Fishy Show, let it flow, let it go, love you show.
Well, could you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, because it's real low volume. Oh, thank you, Mary. Very sweet.
You're welcome.
Hi, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. How are you?
Coffee
Top
time.
of the morning to you.
Cheers.
Glory.
Oh, that's something we need to mention. Lori,
What?
she's got her son in from the Army.
Who are you talking about?
Lori, and I was just going to tell the shoal, Lori's not here to like drop links like she usually is. Yeah, her son came in from the Army. So if everybody's got blue wrenches, so y'all can drop links, but drop each other's, drop Father Fish's, drop the Patreon. I try to, but my clipboard's not working very well.
Links are not working.
Okay.
Links are not working on YouTube in general.
Okay.
So it's not anything we can do about it.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a slow morning, isn't it? Oh, dear. I woke up early. I woke up about, I don't know what time, 6:30. So I had time to get it together and get in here. Xanadu said it sounded fine. That's funny. It was just low volume on mine. Aquarium Cop is saying he thought links were banned. I don't know. Have you heard that? All I've heard is that people are having trouble posting links. I haven't heard they were banned, but God knows. I mean, YouTube is doing so many strange things these days. And I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to get thrown off because they become so censorious that you have to watch every word you're saying. Isn't
that the truth?
It's bizarre. Just flat out bizarre. Anyway.
I'm going to see if I can drop your Patreon
What is
link.
Glassbox saying? What about 4 tanks? Talking about sand, I guess.
Well, I just got my sound back, so I didn't hear any of that. So I just kept saying hi. But I'm here now.
T-Bone is trying to get his sand in his tank. I guess it's coming along.
Okay, good.
He's doing it slowly. Ferio, hello, Ferio.
Good.
Let's see. I think what I probably ought to do is get my channel up here on YouTube so I can see the chat.
Mm-hmm.
My channel up on live chat.
Oh boy, there we're echoing.
I've got no volume today. It's funny.
Well, it wouldn't
Chubbs,
be a morning
good morning,
without something,
Chubbs.
right?
Nice to see you, Chubbs. Rule Britannia has not been here a while. YouTube and other Google apps have been having some problems. Okay, so it's not us. No, nothing posted, Mary. No links. James Handy. 2 medium lights on a tank will equal a highlight. That's an interesting question, James. The cumulative wattage
Mm-hmm.
is valid. So the more wattage you have, the brighter the light. If you have 10 40-watt bulbs, that will give you the lumens of a 400-watt bulb. So yes, multiple low lights, low voltage, low wattage lights will give you more light, more wattage. That is a way to deal with the issue. Now, I also use duration. So you have lumens and you have duration of lumens. Duration of lumens is a matter of how long you leave the lights on. The principle that guides me is that a pond or a creek or a body of water in nature that's large enough to not be overhung by trees. So this would exclude things like streams running through a forest, but it would include ponds, nearly all ponds, that are not substantially overhung by trees or shadowed by mountains or buildings or whatever, are exposed to direct sunlight. So bodies of water on the earth, in nature, are exposed to direct sunlight for the duration of that sunlight, which is 8 to 12 hours a day typically, with the most intense in the 10 to 2 range, 10 of the morning to 2 in the afternoon. That's 4 hours of pretty intense direct light. The amount of light that they receive that the ponds receive on a non-cloudy day is essentially not duplicatable by synthetic light. Now, in point of fact, it is duplicatable, but not practical. That is to say, in order to create the amount of lumens that the sun provides would require a pretty massive electronic system. The new LEDs, there are new LED systems that are providing that level of light. However, they are not commercially available as aquarium light. They're expensive and they are impractical. There are other kinds of lighting that provide that level of light. There was an attempt for a period of time to use halogen lights on saltwater systems as a way of trying to duplicate natural sunlight. Those have pretty much gone by the boards. There were too many ancillary problems, primary of which was heat production. The amount of heat that they released caused serious temperature problems with water, and particularly with salt water. That water needs to be cool, not warm. You can't maintain the coral systems, or for that matter, a healthy saltwater tank, if you're in the high 80s, even the mid 80s. The low 80s, maybe for a while, but they really need to be cooler. So the advent of chillers was brought in, all of which was an attempt to create some kind of balance. So the long and the short of this light business is that most plants that we have in the hobby are easily adaptable to relatively low light conditions, which means that you can leave your lights on longer, even though they are low wattage lights, and it will have a cumulative, a cumulative effect on plant growth, plant life, photosynthesis, and the like. I have tanks that have lights left on 24/7. My 30-gallon long that's been set up as a dirted tank for 10 years has had lights on for probably 5 years or more, 24/7. They're low voltage, they're low wattage lights. They're LEDs. They're maybe 100 watts tops. They're not strong lights, and I leave them on permanently. And that seems to work just fine. I think I've not noticed any breakdown in plant growth, particularly. The fish seem relatively satisfied with it. I don't know what it would mimic in nature exactly. Full moon, 28 days of the month, maybe. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I was wondering how it affected the fish having light on all the time.
it doesn't seem to affect the fish at all. Fish are strange about that, though. Fish will seek out shadows. They'll seek out cover. Most fish,
Right.
not all, but most fish, particularly the lurking fish, prefer to be in the dark. They prefer to be in shadow.
Right.
They prefer to hide under things. In the Amazon, for example, the water in the Amazon is so um, murky. That was the word. Yeah, I was thinking turbid. Turbid is not the word. Murky is the word.
Yeah.
It's so murky that once you get down into it, there's no visibility at all. Those fish are living, particularly like the catfish on the bottom, they're living in permanent total darkness. There is effectively no light piercing through to the bottom of the Amazon River. We don't think about that much, but it's really a dark river. It's a river that does not receive sunlight below probably 12 inches, which means all of those fish down below that are living in the dark. That's why so many of them have marginal vision. They don't use their vision. They use their other senses, their smell, their touch, and so forth. And you can tell this. I have a big red-tailed cat that's in a big pond, about I don't know how wide it is, 8 to 10 foot wide pond in the back of the shop. And if I throw a dead fish in there, even though it doesn't hit, even though I may not splash the water, if I just kind of drop it in, he will know almost instantly that it's in there, and not by seeing it, but by smelling it probably initially, and then with his feelers finding it. So he's operating without vision until it gets close enough that it's within 2 or 3 inches, and then he'll grab it. So first he smells, he moves around with his feelers until he feels it, and then he heads toward it and within 2 or 3 inches, he's got it. So he's using other senses to be able to find food and to be able to know what's going on, excuse me, in his environment. There also is the lateral line. The lateral line is essentially an electric system, a sonar system like underwater radar that pulses or sends out signals that bounce back that he picks up, so he knows when something is near him, knows when it's going by, and can pretty well tell what it is by the signal that's coming back. So that's a fairly remarkable little device.
And is that in freshwater and saltwater?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fresh and salt water. Yeah. Not all, theoretically, not all fish have it. I think, in fact, all fish have a lateral line. There are some fish that may not depend on it. There are others that depend very heavily on it.
Okay.
I had an abba for many years. I've had several. I haven't had any in recent years, but I've had a number of them, and they have a lateral line. They're blind. They have no eyes at all, or no vision at all, I should say. They have eyes, but they don't detect much, if anything. But if you walk in a room, the slight vibration, even if walking on concrete, I used to keep them on a lanai that was a concrete floor, and if I walked, it took a step onto that concrete, he instantly would react. He was so sensitive to anything at all within a wide range, a wide distance, that he instantly knew something was there, and the reaction was strong and clear. It was not peremptory in any way. It was absolutely intense.
So I guess that's how they survive, though.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to be able to know what's around them.
Right.
For every fish, there's a bigger fish. For every monster,
Right.
there's a bigger monster.
Yep.
So,
Because, like we like to say, fish eat fish, right?
fish eat fish. Yeah, you bet. What's going on here?
We've got a couple of questions, but I was going to bring up something else because I just saw Chris Stubbings walk in. What we were talking about last night about doing a, I don't know if Joey heard it, about doing a.
Oh, yes, thank you.
No, because I was in the barn all night, so I didn't see the show.
Right. Well, we had somebody come up last night, Joey, who wanted a tutorial on goldfish.
Oh.
And Amanda was in. She had left by then,
Yeah.
but she had been in. And I thought it would be fun to get you and Amanda up on a special stream and dedicate it to goldfish.
To goldfish, okay. I'm not like really technical about goldfish,
No, but you've got a lot of and neither is Amanda, for that matter.
Okay, all right.
But you both have pretty extensive collections.
Mm-hmm.
And have a lot of experience and knowledge, and that frankly, I think this whole channel, this whole Father Fish channel, is a whole lot more about practical application than it is about scientific understanding or scientific research. We employ the scientific method, which is trial and error, but we're not detailing bacterium and chemical formula and the like. We're rather looking at what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say I fall into more the category of I figure out things that work and I go with that. I don't necessarily have to know why it works. I'm just happy it works. And I can move on.
Exactly.
Do things.
Right. So that does differentiate us, and frankly, that's who I am. I don't have a scientific background at all. I did not take anything beyond introduction to biology
Me too.
in college. That
It
was
was
it.
like,
Was the only
yeah.
scientific course I took.
Yeah.
More's the pity. I think I would have enjoyed it and done well with it. Same with math. I did not take any math courses at all. More's the pity. I don't even know what calculus is. I have no
Me
no
either.
no knowledge of that. Pardon?
Me either. I took business courses that would help me in life. You know.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
do
yeah.
all the other things.
Right.
Well, yeah, I majored in philosophy. And I remember one time we had the math department brought a philosopher of mathematics to speak. And the philosophy group was invited to that. And I had a wonderful time. It was delightful. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, but then never took a math course beyond that.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't have that kind of brain.
Well, that's why, you know, the only thing I worry about is, you know, when I'm talking and trying to explain things to people, you know, is it's just totally from my experience. There's nothing
Right.
necessarily
Yeah.
to back it up other than I have a
It
lot of
just
goldfish and it works, you know.
Right.
You know, so that's what I go with.
Yeah, I used to be intimidated by that, by my lack of knowledge of what chemicals did what and
Right.
why things worked the way they did, until I finally realized I really did not need to know that in order to be successful at what I was doing.
Exactly.
You know, understanding how a system works is not nearly as important as knowing that it works
That's me.
and being able to apply it when needed to make it work.
That's the page I'm on. That's me.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. Oh, I don't need you to.
Right.
We just have 2 questions, Joey. I think.
Coffee. What is coffee saying here?
Coffee's asking about having some. Mm-hmm.
Can I get a recommendation on what tank mates would go with a chocolate cichlid to a small one in a 2-foot cube tank? Too much flow for angels. Plan B is chocolate with a tank mate or 2. 2-foot cube, 2 by 2 by 2, 4 twos, 8, 60. That's a 60-gallon tank. That's a nice sized tank. You can really have a lot in there. If you do it deep sands and plant it, you could kick the temperature up to 85. You could have rams in with it. You could have discus in with it. You absolutely could have angels with it. You can have festivum. You can even put severum in there. There are any number of fish you can put in with chocolate cichlids. They're a Central American fish. They're not an aggressive fish. I love chocolate cichlids. They're a beautiful fish. They spawn easily. They're just a great, great tank mate. I'll tell you another one you would enjoy having with them is, what is it called now? I just got some the other day. They're keyhole cichlids. If you can get keyhole cichlids, that's a great fish to have with chocolates. They're very, very comparable fish in many ways. They're just lots of things. I would not be afraid of putting angels in with them. But make sure you got enough plants in there so that water current is broken up some. You don't need to create a whirlpool in your tank. What do we have here? Who is this? Somebody just turned green on me. Glass box. Glass box is a snook. Wonderful. Welcome, Glass box. Our newest YouTube member. Nice to have you with us. Very nice. And thanks for hanging in with us, Glass box. You've been a good friend. I see. Stephen is saying the blood clot in his son, at his son's wound, is fully gone. Praise God.
Wonderful.
News.
Yes.
Good news.
Wonderful. John Larson says,
Mary's saying she took microbiology. My
I
God,
did.
dear.
Did
Never
you have a
believe it,
question,
would you?
Mary?
Really?
I didn't say I did well in it, but I took it. I did.
Oh, here we go.
I have some of those
Robert
classes, too.
Tillicka. Robert Tillicka at 823. Do you have any
Yes.
advice on creating a perpetual source of live food in an aquarium? I mean, creating a perfect food cycle in the tank. I heard that though it is very hard, it is possible. Robert, delighted you've asked the question. And it is, depending on what you're trying to achieve, it need not be very hard. And in point of fact, it's not very hard. What it depends on is creating a substrate capable of maintaining a balanced environment, maintaining a substrate capable of creating a cycle, a life cycle. A deep substrate creates enough depth in the substrate for a wide range, a wide variety of life to live in that substrate and to reach far enough into it to be able to get into an anaerobic layer in order to take up nutrition. So, for example, roots which go down into the anaerobic layer and take up nutrition are one way in which that cycling occurs. But another way is animals living in the substrate that actually burrow down below the oxygen level in order to feed. And then when they become oxygen deprived, come back up to the oxygen level to be able to breathe. And they'll cycle that way. They'll do a sine curve, if you will, between the CO2 and the O2 levels or O levels, between the oxygen deprived, and the oxygen level in order to be able to breathe, but also in order to be able to pull more of that converted material up into a higher substrate, and then of course they die and are consumed or whatever. So it's a way in which through that couple of inches, it's a way for that nutrition to work its way into into the system. By coming up, by doing that, they're providing nutrition for other larger microscopic animals like various sorts of shrimp and the like. So it's providing the food foundation for the kinds of little animals that fish feed on. The little shrimp, the copepods, the daphne, the other microfauna that stays more at the surface, that catfish look, for example, the nematodes, other kinds of worms, annelids, all of those things which are living closer to the surface depend on even tinier animals that are living further down that are pulling nutrition out of that bottom. So that's the way in which that cycle really gets going in order to be able to provide food for the higher order animals in the water column, like the little fish. Now, you're never going to provide the kind of nutrition that you need for larger fish, but theoretically you could do it, but it would require a pond environment in which smaller fish would be able to survive predation sufficient to be able to live out their life cycle and to be able to spawn and have babies. So you can see it in a pond. That's virtually impossible to replicate in a glass box. Unless you had it staged in such a way that there were very shallow layers of water, very shallow depth of water that would allow the smaller fish to survive beyond predation. But you get the idea that if you're maintaining little fish, all of the stuff that is so popular in the hobby, all of the tetras, the live bearers, the little catfish, the corridorids, all of these small fish that we keep, it's very reasonable to be able to expect to create a system with the deep substrate that will provide nutrition for all of the animals living in it, right up to the larger ones at the top that are crawling around that the fish are that the fish are feeding on. Now, beyond that is algae, and that whole nutritional level that's working its way back up is providing nutrition for various algae. The fish are also feeding on algae. And it's those algae then that provide a substantial portion of the food for little fish. Lee did an experiment with his 50-gallon tank, in which he did not put food in the tank, other than worms for his frogs. Did not put food in the tank for 5 or 6 months, and he was on what we refer to as poop control, or poop watch, in which he noticed that the fish were continuing to process food, even though he had not put any in there, and that went on for a very long time. So he did create, very simply and very easily, by adding sand to what had earlier been created as a dirted tank, adding sand to it to create a cap in order to control the anaerobic properties, and create an environment in which microscopic fauna could survive. So there's all that. Bit of an answer to your question. You can see that with things like blackworms. Blackworms will live in that strata as well. So you can introduce the larger, more complex animals into that system that also provide a food base.
And that's what GRB is saying at 8:30, saying he has blackworms living in his substrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of the green water tank.
Mary Page.
Could everybody hit the thumbs up? I think we have around 50 people watching, and
oh yeah, we do.
25 or 26 thumbs up. Could you?
Thank you, Mary, for your super sticker.
Yes, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bailey, for your.
Bettas.
We're doing poop control here.
Poop patrol, right? Poop patrol.
Poop watch.
But so what?
Let's see.
Didn't
Joey, did you see? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
Did I see
James Handy. I experimented. James Handy at
Rohan
8:33. I stopped adding equilibrium and let my GH stay at 0. Angelfish are fine, but lost my nitrogen cycle. Was it hardness or coincidence? Expensive additive for 20 tanks. Oh my.
Yes.
I don't know, James. Not enough information. If you lost your GH, if your GH stayed at 0, then you're using essentially the distilled water, rainwater, RO water, whatever. I would never use water like that in a freshwater tank unless we're trying to create a 5.0 pH. I do rather the opposite. I use Robert Tillica just joined.
Oh,
That's nice. Thank
Welcome, Robert. I use hard alkaline water, the well water here in Southwest Florida, from the deep 600-foot wells, is has a GH of about 250. Now, interestingly, and I've got to double check this. I have a biologist friend who's telling me that the water here is all of a sudden soft. I think what I'll need to do is call the water supply
Yeah.
on Monday and find out what's going on, because he's telling me that the KH is down around 10, and that the GH is under 100. And I don't know what in the world that's all about. Doesn't make a bit of sense to me. When I check my water, my pH is 8.0. That's all I ever really check, because that tells me that the carbonate level is good, which is really all I'm concerned about. Hardness will follow carbonate. Um, it's going to stay high enough to not be an issue. But he's telling me something very different, so I don't quite understand how all this is happening. But I'm going to call my water people and find out. Americans, Coffee is saying Americans seem to always have really high pH. Around here, 7.5 is hard. Well, 7.5 is hard here too. I mean, uh, usually I'm at 8.0 in my tanks, mainly because I'm using the waste from my RO system, which gives me essentially double or triple hardness from what's coming out of the tap. Would also increase. That's interesting. That may be why I'm getting away with this. Because I'm using the wastewater, which is essentially by stripping out the minerals and putting them in the wastewater. Then I use the wastewater for my freshwater systems. That's going to give me a higher than normal KH and GH. So that's interesting. Oh, we'll have to dig into this a little bit. There's a good example. It's not a problem. I haven't had a problem. Everything's moving along slowly. And then some bloody scientist comes in and he says, well, your water isn't testing nearly what it should be testing. And I get all discombobulated and all worried and upset and frustrated. And until I finally settle down and figure out, well, yeah, I compensated for that 10 years ago. It's not an issue for me. So, yeah, like that.
Oh, you know what? I think you should give Robert a wrench.
That's what I was going to say too. Since he's a member now, I think
he needs to match Joey's shirt.
Yes. And
oh, look, the VID is from Iraq.
I was just going to say, we have somebody watching from Iraq.
Isn't that wonderful? Delighted to have you with us, Finn.
That's neat.
I had a pen pal, an email pal, I guess, from Iraq some years ago. So a woman, a grandmother, somebody my age, who we talked every day.
Oh, wow. Nice.
For about a year, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then she disappeared. Who was he we were talking about? Robert?
Yes.
Yes, Robert, right.
Robert, if you could give him a
Robert.
wrench.
Robert now has a wrench. Welcome, Robert.
You're
Oh,
part of
okay.
the
Yeah,
show.
Robert just joined.
Yes, welcome to the show. And
Yes,
Mary, have we checked the
absolutely.
likes? How are we doing on the likes?
Oh, let's
I'm gonna
see.
try to check them.
We are 58 watching, 34 likes. So would everybody please
Yeah, we
hit
need to
that like?
kick up the lights here, guys.
Please.
Hit the lights, and
Welcome,
also
Wonderful
share.
World.
Please do share.
Yes.
Please click on share and whatever other social platform you're on that it goes to. Post the stream there if you don't mind. Oh, we did have a typo. Father fish in thy morning.
I'm sure I
Thigh
have plenty
morning.
of typos.
Thigh morning. Funny. I did it kind of in the dark last night. Chevy Fish is talking about Crapsaurus Patrol. That's good. That's good.
So, Father Fish,
Very good,
have
Chevy. Yes.
question at 8:40 from Ultra Magnetic. Welcome. It says, speaking of science, what do you think about a plenum? Kevin Novak
dear.
seems to recommend them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to say this nicely.
We always go here.
You don't have to, just say it. It's your channel, just say it.
What is there's an expression for this? What is the expression?
It depends on where you're going.
Right.
I know.
We can't help you.
We just do the Father Fish system.
It's what people in a very formal environment say to each other when they're about to clobber them. It presages their comments. It's like with all respect. Yes.
Yes.
That's what it is. With all respect. With all due and appropriate respect
That's right.
to Dr. Novak.
Yep.
We're on different wavelengths, doing different things entirely. I'm not constructing the kind of system that Dr. Novak is constructing, nor is he constructing the kind of system that I am constructing. We're working toward completely different goals. So I find his plenum of no significance in my system. Whether it's there or not seems not to be relevant to the effectiveness of the system, I guess is the best way for me to put it. I have no aversion to plenums, nor do I have any interest in them. I've used them and I've not used them, and I find they make no difference at all, given the system that I create. So that's probably the best thing I can say about that.
It's interesting. I mean, it's an interesting topic.
That was not caustic at all, was it?
No.
Was I caustic?
No, you were very nice.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just not, like you said, it's not your way. It's not
right.
what you embrace.
It's still a good.
Nor is it something that has any particular value. I mean, if it had value, I'd do it. But it doesn't. It doesn't change anything. The system I've developed does that, does everything a plenum does, and it does other things that the plenum doesn't do.
And
so
you refer to the plenum sort of as kind of an open sewer under your substrate, right?
No, it's not an open sewer. I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Well, yeah, kind of, but it's not open in the sense of being accessible to the water column.
Than your deep
It's
substrate.
It's an empty space.
Yes.
It's a void, if you will, at the bottom of the substrate that gets filled up with mud, gets filled up with waste. And so it's no longer then a void. But the identical thing happens if you don't have that. It simply has other soils around it. But that's what it all becomes. It all kind of breaks down and becomes like mud at the bottom. I don't. It may accomplish something more quickly. I don't know. Um, I've not ever. I started using plenums in saltwater 20 years ago because a friend of mine who is since passed um, um, was the head curator at Shed Aquarium. I met him in the late 70s at Shed, and we discussed plenums. It was 1978. They were using plenums in their saltwater systems. That continued, and many of the saltwater systems at the Baltimore Aquarium, the National Aquarium, were set up with plenums in the early years. So it was a fairly popular technique for doing saltwater. What was discovered 5, 10, 15 years later is that with the deep substrate that they were putting on top of that plenum, as the plenums broke down or were not used in a newer system, they discovered they were of little or no consequence. So they have pretty well stopped using them, mainly because they're doing something very different from what Dr. Novak is doing. He is getting nitrates out of goldfish ponds. And he's doing it in environments that do not easily lend themselves to a deep substrate. So that's a very different kind of condition. It's one that is typically not extant in aquariums. In aquariums, we have the ability pretty easily to do deep substrates. And the deep substrate accomplishes what the plenum accomplishes and a great deal more. So that's really the issue. There is application for Novak's plenum, and it's primarily in farming situations, in trout farms, for example, where there's a heavy water flow, in goldfish ponds, goldfish environments, where it's important to get the nitrates out, and you really can't get away with the deep substrate. Those kinds of environments. In an aquarium, I think it has limited value, and he typically uses it in what am I thinking about here? In sumps, where he has water going from the tank through a sump. He'll put a plenum in a sump, and it'll work very effectively to remove nitrates. If, however, the main purpose for sumps is to be able to handle a very large environment of water, like a pond or 1,000-gallon system or something. And it's a way to be able to control nitrates. That's what it does. It does it very effectively. There are a whole lot of other things it does not do that a deep substrate does, including reducing nitrates. So, what else we got here? Stephen chimed in on that. What do you have to say?
Well, I was going to ask you a quick question from Roman because he's got some ick going on, and he said, he's got it at 86. But how many days do you recommend for treating ick? I can't remember if you said.
Yeah, two days. 2 days at 86 should totally do it in. Now,
That was
who was it? Who was it the other day was having trouble with that? And
Oh yeah, they
had
said
it at 86, 87,
they
and it
had it at
wasn't.
90. They
Oh,
had
yeah.
the tank at 90, and it still was bad. But
Yeah,
we
which
decided it wasn't.
Oh.
I don't know who
which
it was.
we determined was not it, but was something else.
Right.
And I recommended magnesium, um, Epsom salts
Yeah.
to deal with whatever there was. We didn't get any feedback. Ultramagnetic at 847.
Yeah, they
Just,
they had another question about
he just earned himself a wrench with this one
Yeah.
because it's
Well,
obvious
the other
he's
question was ultramagnetic.
Yes.
he's paying attention.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we've missed some of the questions because it's like the chat's jumped and the questions are gone. So
Well,
Yeah,
it's
so-
not. It,
Yeah.
yeah, it's my fault too because I'm
it's okay. We were enjoying it.
I'm rambling way too.
It's okay.
Yeah, but it's all good information, you know.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And if it's something, just ask again and we'll certainly try.
All right, ultramagnetic. What substrate and filter did Henry Hall use back in the day in Baltimore? Fabulous question. Fabulous question. Let me explain a little bit for those who don't know. Henry Hall was a lifelong fish keeper. I met him when he was 80, when he was giving up his collection. He gave his collection to me. I donated it, or through him, we donated it. Through me, he donated it to the National Aquarium. It became the first display of the National Aquarium and was during construction of the aquarium, it was housed in the Science Center there in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and they developed it into a wonderful major permanent display. In any case, Henry Hall had about 100 tanks in his hobby room, his fish room. All of them were 100 gallons or better. He had one 4-foot cube. That's like big. 4 foot by 4 foot by 4. 416 times 4 is 64. Times 8 is 4. It was a 500 gallon system. They were all one fish living in each tank. No plants of any kind, no dithers, nothing, one fish. He fed them all goldfish. That's all he fed. Now, he had had many fish through his life before that. This was his climax collection. You know what a climax forest is? A climax forest is an old forest in which it maximizes to the extent of having all that it's capable of having. It becomes a full blown, and that's what his hobby was. His hobby at full blown capacity was 100 very large fish. The smallest of which was 1.5 to 2 foot, the largest of which was 6 foot, an electric eel. He also had a caiman, a 4-foot caiman. His tanks were bare bottom tanks, no substrate at all. His filters were plastic trays that he made sitting on top of the tank. None of these tanks were independently lit. There was no lighting. It was strictly ambient light. They were all essentially living in shadow. It was a well-lit room, so you could see in all the tanks, but no lights directly on the tanks. So, no algae. Plastic trays made into boxes with slits in the bottom of them and filter material like he used filter floss. He used a lot of things. When I met him, he was using air conditioning filter material, a padding.
Yeah.
he had tubes, 1-inch tubes, like the tubes in an undergravel filter, a plastic tube with an air line going to the bottom of it, uh, blowing air and bringing water up the 3 to 4 inch rise above the water level to drop it into these boxes. That was the filter. And they were enormously effective. Now, he did not feed these fish every day. He fed many of them only once a month. Others he would feed a little more frequently, once every couple of weeks or so. Periodically, once a month, he and I would get in. I knew him over a period of about 2 years. We would, and we spent a lot of time together. It was wonderful. We'd get in a car, I usually drove, and we would drive up to Thurmont, Maryland, to Fish Hatchery Road, still there, to a goldfish farm, still there, even to this day. And we would buy goldfish and we would bring them back alive in boxes and buckets and barrels, bring them back alive and feed them to his fish. He did not maintain a goldfish outside of the tanks where he was feeding them. He'd bring them back. Everything was fed out all at once. And there would be some that would be a foot long. He would get larger goldfish as well. No little tiny ones. They were all bigger. The smallest were probably 3 to 4 inches. Biggest ones about a foot. And that was his routine. So the system did not produce a lot of waste. And that filter that he had was adequate to be able to remove what was created. And once a month, he would go through and clean out all these pads, or once or less frequently. I don't think he did it once a month. I think he did it about every 6 months. So that was the system. Thank you, Ultramagnetic, for that.
So, Stephen, we're going back to the ick for a second, but I think Stephen's confirming what we've been suspecting, that ick's always present in your tank. At 8:53, he makes reference to that. I've always felt it's there.
Good. I want to see that.
Yeah. I was like, yes, somebody that's, biologist
Right.
agrees.
Oh, slit. Yeah, what?
Have you found it, Father Fish?
Yeah.
Okay.
You only see it when immunes are comprised. Exactly.
That's what we were thinking.
Exactly.
We got proof.
So it's in the tank all the time.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah, the other thing is,
everybody says no.
he said that the 85 causes it to stop breeding, but it apparently doesn't kill it, from what he's saying. That's interesting.
I thought you'd like that.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
What it means, if it stops breeding, that means, however, that means that the adults are going to die. So whatever, I don't know. That still leaves some questions unanswered.
It leaves questions, but at least we know that at 85, 86, it takes care of the problem that's
It
on
stops
the
it.
fish.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It stops it from eating the fish alive.
Yeah.
It's always in the tank, apparently.
Yeah, I like the comment, "Ick is always in your tank." I have always believed that.
Me too.
Even though I didn't understand how it was possible. And he's saying all the temperature does is keep it from breeding. It doesn't actually kill it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting stuff.
I'm like,
he had a follow-up at 8:57.
From who, Mary?
From Stephen, a follow-up.
Oh, follow-up. Oh, yeah, I see it.
At 8:57.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
It's not really a debate. Enough labs and aquatic vets have confirmed.
Yeah.
I don't understand what that's referring to.
Well, he's at the other one. You see
Oh,
the
and
other
I'm at
photo?
859. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Here it is.
857.
90% of fish have the parasite on them. Only presents when the slime coat's compromised. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Which is why they get it during shipping, or if something
Yeah.
Perfect
dramatic happens
sense.
in the tank.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's right.
Stephen. I feel so much better. I feel like I'm not quite so, everybody, when you make statements
Yeah,
and people are like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not it.
And of
That's
course,
not
there's
true.
always going to be debate. I mean, it's just that's the
Oh,
way.
Well,
it
and
is.
Select Vet saying I've had it. I've gone decades without it, and then all of a sudden it pops off.
Right.
Yeah,
I usually only see it with fish that have been shipped in,
Yeah.
not what's here in my household.
Or something. Yeah.
right.
Hey, it's 9:00.
Well, if your tank or if your fish are healthy, they're not going. They're going to be essentially immune to it.
Right.
They'll
It's like,
they'll have a strong enough slime coat to be able to ward it off and keep
and
it
so,
from getting
right,
into
that
the
all makes
body.
sense. Can we take a little coffee break?
You bet. And let's
Please?
do it. Let's see if we can do a tune here.
Okay.
Yes,
Do it
I
with a
told
song.
my
Full screen so that we
son-in-law
can
I'd
all
come
run
help
away.
him at 9:00. I said, wait till 9 and I'll be right there with the baby.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be right
All right. I'm gonna do. Let's do. Let's see. What did we do this morning?
You did
We
Mary's song.
we
Mary's
did
song.
Mary's song, right? Oh, guess what?
Oh, what?
Guess what we got back?
What we got back? Oh, one of
We
Lee's
got
original
back.
songs?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I had to come back and say yes.
Yes.
Hello, Mary. Try and sort this one out. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be. Let's talk about fish. Fish. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Instrumental break. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. 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 Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish. I think that one will do. I'll play it back and I'll see what I think. I think it's probably the nuts. And that'll be the one. And you can play around with all of it and decide what you want to do in your production stream for Savannah Fish.
Yes. Ah, everybody's gone. I'm here all by my lonesome. Look at this. Mercy. Let me get back. Let me get back. Dooby doo.
Okay. I'm back.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. I feel like I've missed.
Oh, I'm sure we've missed questions. Like Mary said, we can only
Yeah.
scroll back so far. So if there's a question and you can put it back in the chat, we'll try. You know, we do get off on tangents, so we don't always get a lot of questions answered, but there's a lot of info in this.
It's mainly bettas and big city bettas having a tank off here. That's pretty cool.
Well, it makes for good conversation, and I love reading everything.
Yeah.
I paused. But he's
yeah.
snuck in here.
Keep in mind, folks, next week, beginning on Monday, we will no longer be having 2 streams a day. We're going to go back to 1 a day. There will be, I'm going to miss the evening stream.
You know, you can always get on there and just
anyway, you know, what's the difference?
I have a feeling he'll be sneaking on there.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, it'll be on 9 o'clock in the morning rather than 8 Eastern time. So it's going to be an hour later. There are already complaints about this from people who are tuning into us on their drive to work, and for that matter, from work. So there were a few people, Lee among them, who was somewhat disappointed that he was going to be missing, was it the morning stream, I guess, because he'll be picking his wife up. And it's a half an hour drive to, another half an hour from. So he's not going to miss it all, but maybe a chunk. But he'll have to tune in while he's in the car. I'm sure he'll be with us. He will work it out. We all do. Anyway, that'll be Monday through Friday at 9 Eastern time. So we're going to begin an hour later.
Sorry, I'm laughing at coffee statement. You saw it.
Yeah, coffee. We love
coffee.
Thank you. Yeah.
He's going to miss us. Me and Joey.
He's going to miss us girls.
Going to miss seeing Hat Trick and Mary Page twice a day. Well, aren't we all? Well, you know, me too, actually. Which, and I may have a real. What's the problem?
He's tried to do this before, and he always seems to sneak right back up here.
I know. You're going to have withdrawals? Is that
that's the word I wanted. That was it precisely.
Oh gosh,
I'm going to be suffering withdrawal.
I'll send you a mug.
And I won't do well with that. I don't do well. I don't do well with withdrawal.
Separation issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm gonna be
put on a rerun. Sorry.
I got to. There you go. I have to travel. Oh, sorry. I have to travel tomorrow or tonight later on, so I may not be here in the morning because I have to go to Maryland, and then depending on how it is and then I'm going to Kentucky on Tuesday, so those may be 2 days of MIA.
I'm not going to be in Maryland long, just a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm going to go see my youngest, then I'm going to see more.
Be safe. Please be safe.
Yeah,
and they better let me come home in 2 weeks, because remember last time I got to Kentucky, I was there for 2 months.
They wouldn't let you go, yeah. Well, you may get stuck down there permanently.
Oh, we're going too soon. We're ready to move home.
Yeah. Anyway, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Saturday and Sunday, no morning show on Saturday and Sunday, but an evening show at 6 o'clock Eastern time, Saturday and Sunday. So we're still going to be on every day. It'll simply be an hour later in the morning, and we'll be only on in the evening on the weekends. Yes, Joey.
Oh, I just meant once a day. I'm just saying if
Oh,
you're
right.
having withdrawals, Father Fish, you can
Yeah, I
always
know. It's
watch
good. I
the
don't know.
replay. You know, can watch
I
your own show.
know. No. Madeley is saying no tank off here. She is at what 140 tanks, and you're at 20. Yeah, but there ain't a big gap between 20 and 140. There really isn't. It may seem like a big number, but once you've hit 20, you're pretty well over the hump.
Yeah.
The next step involves buying 50 10-gallon tanks and setting up all at once. But it doesn't take much to go from 20 to 100.
And I'm telling you, I have horizontal surface disease. I look at everything and go, I could put a fish tank on that. You know, anything that's got a flat surface, I'm eyeballing, going, I could take that space and put a fish tank there. It's horrible. I don't have one on the back of my toilet though, because you can't get it. You know.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Oh, I have one in the toilet.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
You do a fancy little bowl like a betta bowl.
Right. You gotta at least have.
Who
one
was it that said they were eyeballing the top of their refrigerator one day?
Oh yeah,
I can't remember.
Perfect.
You know what I did one time because I just knew it would aggravate my son. So the mirror in the bathroom, you open it up. I took a background that had come off of a box, a fish tank box, and cut it out and put it, in the back of there. Put some little plants, and I put a betta in there in a smaller bowl.
Funny.
So that when he opened the mirror, I just knew it would send him right out. He would be like, "What is wrong with this place?" It's like, I got him. You got to have a lot of time on your hands to think about those things, right?
I had that when I was, well, it's been 15 years ago, and I worked in that pet store, and it just fascinated me to see all those tanks, lined up. So I didn't even know what a fish room was back then, but I had one because I brought home every tank that they came in, like they would have just extra tanks, and I would just take them home, and I'd groom dogs and take tanks, groom dogs and take fish, groom dogs and take rabbits.
Multi-tank syndrome is real.
Right.
You can't have just one.
No, it's not Select Pet. I'm looking forward to getting back to Kentucky.
Yeah, Steven's talking about the problem they have with the clot caused by the incision. Henry Hall died from adhesions. He had stomach cancer. They went in, they removed the cancer, but then all of the organs that were involved as they healed adhered to each other, and he died of adhesion following the surgery. So it was really a surgery-induced death. That was rather dreadful. He cried. This is a big man, 6'4", 250, 275, solid muscle, big man, 80 years old. I think he died at 82. He was a sweet, sweet, sweet man. And he laying in this hospital bed, with tears coming down his eyes because they so wanted to be up and about. I performed a wedding ceremony for him. He married a woman. He had lost his wife, and then married a woman named Regina. Regina, I guess.
I like Regina.
Regina, yeah. She had never been married. She was 75 when they married. She was and he died a year later. So they were not. She said she was saddened by the fact that she had him less than a year. It was all very sad the way it all kind of ended.
Yeah.
but adhesions, dreadful.
Yep. Scarring tissue.
Coffee is saying 2 keyholes, another chocolate, and 2 severums in the planted 2-foot cube. Well, there's a good choices. John Larson.
I think I
Yeah.
asked you a while ago, do you have chocolate cichlids in your store or no?
Yes, I do.
You do. Okay.
I do. I have little ones. They're not even an inch long.
Yeah. But it's, you were just saying they aren't as aggressive as some, and that good tank mates. for
Right,
animals and-
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, where
I
they're
never
really
see
a
them around
very
here.
they're like a chocolate. They're really a nice fish.
Yeah. I would have to ship them in because nobody around me sells them.
What do you have for questions? Anything?
It's so easy. No, I don't. Do you? Everybody's talking. I'm not sure they're
Yeah, but
questions.
yeah, a lot of chatting going on.
They're
Yeah.
chatting back and forth, which is great. It's just it's hard to field sometimes. I don't see an actual question.
So mainly Bettis is buying a new house
This is
with a
great.
big basement, major fish room. So they're going to be catching up rather quickly here.
Welcome, Aquamate.
Is
Yes.
Aquamate? I missed that.
Aquamate's
Yep.
here.
Yep.
Oh, hello, Aquamate.
Yeah, Coffee's saying that the chocolate cichlid's a great fish. Yeah.
Yes.
A spotlight vid on chocolates. Yeah, I need to get some big enough. I've got some smaller ones. They're about
Yeah.
2 inches. I have had them. I've had breeding populations, breeding colonies of them, and just love them. They're such a great fish.
I might like to get some sometime.
Yes, just see it.
I'll have
Put
you
on.
ship them right up to me.
They're a warm water fish. They're a fish that, like the rams and the discus, need to be kept, closer to 85 than 80.
Okay.
Huh.
Everybody's doing great on the likes.
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I'm really excited to hear this information about ick from Stephen.
I know. Me too.
'Cause it confirms a lot of things I believed for a long time. And I'll tell you something else it does. It gives me a lot of confidence because I don't get ick problems with my fish. It's very uncommon. And I only get it with things like clown loaches
Yeah, they're prone to it. Yeah.
that are just, and I believe the reason that happens is if you look at the native environment that clown loaches are in, they're a river fish. They get big, they get a foot or more
And that
long. They
water's
probably get 2 to 3 foot. We don't see them bigger than a foot ever, but they probably
Right.
get substantially larger than that in the wild. And they live in rivers, so they're living in big open water like the Yangtze River, major rivers, living in very large bodies of water, fast moving fish, not at all a fish that's particularly adaptable to an aquarium. Now, more than likely, the small ones stay hidden. They stay in rubble, and that's what we find happens to them when we put them in our tanks. They go for hiding spots. They'll be kind of burrowing down into things, hiding behind things. That's probably normal behavior for them when they're young, in order to not be eaten up by the bigger, by the bigger fish. Their color would lend itself to that interpretation as well because they're banded. abandoned fish
Right.
in open water is hard to see because you don't see the whole outline of the fish. You see spots,
It's like a
essentially.
plant. Yeah.
You see the whichever the higher, the more intense color is. It's usually black and yellow or red or something. So you see the red. You see red spots. You don't see the whole outline of the fish.
Now, Robert asked, can you tell us your opinion on botanicals and leaf
Botanicals
litter?
and leaf litter. I really like it. I don't do it very much, mainly because it's hard for with the tanks I have and going into them all the time. I can't have a lot of mulm in the tanks. It makes it too difficult to catch fish out of them. I'm in many of my tanks every, every day, all of them once a week or so. And if I had to go in there and I had a lot of leaf litter or mulm on the bottom, it would get stirred up. I wouldn't be able to catch anything. It's impractical, I guess is what I'm saying. I did have some in my black water tank that was set up for a few years. I do not now have a black water tank. That's something I really need to recreate. And I've got some new tanks, so we'll take a look at that. I'll see if I can convince Thomas to help me set that up. Right now, he's not excited about that. He's excited about other things. But I'll see if I can get him fired up about doing a black water tank. He converted my black water tank to a vivarium, which is fine. I don't much like vivariums, but he's now got a half a dozen frogs, salamanders, chameleons, other stuff going in there, lots of plants. So it's beginning to take on the life of its own. He poured a bunch of crickets in it yesterday, and everything came out and started feeding. So we'll have to do a video of that.
Yeah, that'd be fun to
That'll
see.
be fun.
Yeah. I mean, we like to feed our critters, so it's fun to watch.
We like to feed our critters, you bet.
At 9:20, I'm getting my toes bit. At 9:20, Ultramagnetic asked, Father Fish, did Rick Hahn over in Thurmont, Ketchikan Zoo, get your shipment of nerite snails and algae eaters?
No. No, that fell apart. We're going to try it again this spring.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is that?
That is
The
at
question?
yeah,
Timestamp.
at 9:20.
And who's it from?
Ultramagnetic.
Oh, I got it.
Magnetic.
Ultramagnetic. It's Catoctin Zoo.
Okay.
Yeah, it was high fin sharks. We were going to
Ooh,
send
I like
high fin sharks.
like those.
What we determined was to get the local shop up there to order them in, or to try to get a box of them. And that was when the shipping stopped, so we were not able to get them in. And then the Nerites kind of went by the boards. We had a bunch, and then we didn't have them when we needed them because Frank wasn't available. Then by the time he got back, it was too late. So things just didn't work out. But they have about a 25,000 gallon koi pond. That's a magnificent display, which is what we wanted to put the Nerites and the high fins in. The high fins, when they get big, turn bright red. They're stunning, and they go very, very well with koi. A lot of koi farmers have them in their koi ponds. So we're going to do that. We just need to get around to it. And I need to call Rick and talk to him. I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. So we need
Yeah,
to.
I
He's
love
down here in
high
Florida
flying
right
sharks,
now.
but I don't have tanks big enough to keep them. They're beautiful. So
Really neat fish. Though.
we just had another ick thing.
Oh, Ro is here.
Yes,
Ro.
Ro's here.
We said hi. Okay, he's just backing up Nicholas.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, backing up the ick that he raised the temperature.
Okay.
And it's started disappearing. So perfect. Exactly what you want.
Yeah, Stephen's saying ick is clear when it isn't on living on an animal, on a fish. It's clear, very hard to see. Yeah, I kind of gathered that. I've never seen it, and I assume when it falls off the fish that it's big enough to be visually to be able to see it, but I've never seen one. So the fact that it's clear is good reason why.
Mm-hmm. Welcome,
Are there
Jody.
different, Stephen? Are there different species of ick, or is it a single species of that parasite? Joda
Yeah.
just stumbled over this live feed here.
Yep.
Ha! Interesting. Well, Joda just earned himself a red cheek.
And he says
Oh
his wife
my!
of
Thank you,
32
Joda.
years.
Appreciate it.
He's here for the first time, enthusiastically engaged in this
Oh,
hobby.
nice.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
So are we.
Amen.
That's why we're all here
Amen.
together, right?
You bet.
We're engaged
It's
in this
been a
hobby.
great conversation this morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, like I said, sorry we missed a bunch of questions, but Rohan was talking about he might come up tonight on the stream, maybe.
Oh.
And
Oh, wonderful.
And he had a couple of questions we missed. Paul had a couple of questions, but we might have got it. I don't know. But if it was important, please just drop it again. But Rohan, if you do come up tonight, then he had something going on with a piece of equipment that wasn't working. I wanted to ask you.
A moonlight Grammys. I think I can get moonlights. Big City Bet is looking for moonlights for her 90-gallon Blackwater. That
Ooh.
sounds fabulous. Love to see a picture of it. I'll see if I can get moonlights, Big City. I'll send you some.
Cool.
Yeah, Stephen's saying more questions about ick than any other fish illness. Absolutely.
It's
That's the big one. And the problem with ick is if you don't catch it in the first week, your fish are all dead.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
And
you can't. At that point, you're done. Those little buggers. No, what? Stephen, tell me the numbers. I forgot the numbers. When ick breed, how many babies do they have? I know it's a set number, and I just it's like 140 or 240 or some such thing. I'd love to know what the number is.
I have to walk away when I'm in Petco or PetSmart, and people come in and they're having an issue with ick, and they tell them, "Oh, it's just ick. Don't worry about it. Your fish will be fine." I have to just walk away because I can't run into their conversation.
Yeah, it makes you sick. I mean, selling fish.
Oh, it's just ick. Yeah, it's fine.
Or they're selling just fish because kids picking out that fish. That just I can't take it.
Right.
I just can't even get near the fish section. Can't do it.
I need to go on with blinders and ear protection.
Yeah, they have beautiful fish though. A lot of times, I mean, they'll have some really nice fish.
No, and all those stores do get some nice fish, but
they get their fish from the same place I get mine.
Exactly, but their advice isn't always spot on.
They should offer better positions to serious people in the hobby. if they would do something like that, make it like a serious, it could be really, but
Right.
that's just not the way it works. Okay.
Oh, Amber's hoping. I guess you can find those fish. I think
Yes.
she's hoping you can get.
What about Andres? Would he have something like that?
Like what?
The moonlight.
No.
No. Okay.
Oh, and she says she'll come on the panel someday and show us some of her tanks.
Yeah.
That would be great.
That'd be great.
Sometimes you just gotta
Yes.
stay here and just read. I mean, you just have to read everything.
Sorry, I'm reading. I think we're all
Me
reading. So nobody's talking because we're all reading.
155
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
is the
yeah.
number he's giving us.
Yeah. But they
So
die,
whatever
but there's
happens with
dozens
Gene.
more coming up. So yeah.
Mad
Oh,
Cat
that's terrible. Mad Cat.
wants to know what happened to Regina.
What is that? That's funny. An ick hat.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, don't worry about it. If you have a couple of those spots, they'll give you the advice at the store. It's nothing to worry
Yeah.
about. You're good. It's
Not
just-
to it'll disappear in a
Don't
day.
worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Mm.
No. It's insane.
time.
And buy some more of these. Yep, that's
Yeah.
no problem. You can take a dozen of these and add them to the
Right,
tank. Yep,
right.
No problem.
And
No problem.
that the policy, their corporate policy is to never treat a sick fish. They never put medication in
Right.
their tanks. They never do anything to overcome the sickness. Now, why is that? Why is that?
Because you sell more stuff. You sell everything. You sell
Because
more
they
fish.
precisely
You just
they guarantee it.
It's all about
What
retailing.
that does, what's the big secret with Walmart? To bring you back into the store. Because every time you go in the store, you buy 3 or 4 things on average you did not go in the store to buy.
Right.
A cart full.
It's the
I
same-
came in for milk.
Yeah, came in for milk.
That's exactly why the big box stores
Yeah.
are successful, because they have so much stock there that you're going to pick up a couple of things that you had no intention of buying. Spontaneous purchases.
Mm-hmm. And fish fall into that category. Absolutely.
Well, the dead fish brings you into the store. It brings you
and
back
they'll
into the store.
replace that dead fish, but then you buy 12 more, so it's working.
Yeah, or something else. If
Right.
not fish, something else. Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that as long as they're not encouraging you to buy those fish and put them in a tank that you already have a problem going on.
Yeah,
in,
well,
you know.
the real problem is that they're deliberately selling sick fish to get you back in the store. That's the problem. And that's unethical. That's unethical.
And
And
they're
that's
all on
where
the same
The
system.
30
That's
days.
where the damned animal rights people ought to be on their high horses, because that is unethical. Talk about ethical treatment of animals. That's not ethical. Not
Right.
a bit.
But they run on those sump systems, and so if you see dead fish over here, I don't think a lot of
Right.
people realize that whole system on that one rack, all the
Is-
same water
yeah.
is going through the tanks.
And I hate when I see their feeder goldfish. They just.
I have bought so many of those. I mean, I can't save every,
They're
but
just right.
every once in a while I'll pick out a pretty one or two and bring them home, put them in, my quarantine and whatever. But they get added to the group because they were kind of pretty.
Yeah.
Ultra is asking if any of Henry Hall's fish are still around at the National, and the answer is yes.
Mhm.
There is one population of fish that is still there. Henry Hall and I went out and we bought a colony of, I think it was 25 red belly piranhas
Oh, goodness.
that we installed in the early when the aquarium first opened. We installed them in the up on the top in the garden area, in the atrium, and they're still there, and they're like this. They're
Oh,
monsters,
That's awesome.
and that was 40 years ago.
I didn't even think
40
about that.
years ago, yeah.
So that
Thing that
that
popped that
you know,
big.
confirms your theory that fish don't have that aging gene. They can, as long as they're in a great, healthy
Yeah, yeah.
system, they live a long time. That's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, a row. Do you think I'd be able to keep my fish outside year round if they were in a greenhouse in East Tennessee? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to keep it above 70 degrees or so, even lower. The Florida fish farmers keep fish in outdoor ponds here. They will cover the ponds with Vicene, some kind of plastic tent, and run them through the winter. And the sun keeps enough heat in the water to keep them going. Easy enough to do. That's really the way to keep fish. I've wanted a greenhouse forever. I think if I ever move out of here, that's what I want to do. I want to do a greenhouse and be able to keep fish and plants together, be able to do natural environments in a greenhouse. The difficulty is it's got to be open in the summer because it gets so hot here.
Yes. Yeah.
But boy, I would love to be able to do that.
We have.
Sandy said his LFS quarantines 2 to 4 weeks. It's not a bad policy. I found based on my source for fish that are already quarantined that I don't need to do it, and I never run into problems with it.
We have a few new people in here. Liberty Ball
We
Cichlids.
sure do, don't we?
Great
Yeah.
White Nico, welcome.
Welcome everyone who's new to the stream.
And
Delightful to have you
I was
here.
like, and where did Mary go? There we go.
Yeah, I just
look up, there
posted
she
the
is,
link.
gone.
I think I don't know what happened. All right, we're kind of running out. Here she is.
She says Petroman sent you
Yeah.
a link or not a link,
Some
an
pictures.
email of his baby discus. Can you see that, Father Fish?
Oh no, I'll go look at that. Let me do that.
You probably sent it on your. Did you send it on the phone, Petroman, or to the email? I think last time we did it on your phone, and then you showed us.
I'm checking my email. I haven't gotten anything on my phone, I don't think. Kevin. No, it's not here. Not here.
Seeing if he said anything. Yeah, y'all froze on me, and then I disappeared. I don't know what happened.
All right, we're at about 10 o'clock, I think.
9:38. Yep.
Oh, 9:30. Well, it's not as late as I thought. Okay.
No, you're right on time.
Yeah, let's get a little tune up here. Is there anything else?
Well, if we missed anything, please come back tonight.
What is Stephen talking about here? Awesome question. What's he referring to?
It was something about.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
Artificial scales. Wow. Well, that would be terrific, Ro. That'll work really well. Nice.
And Rohan,
yeah, Emily's talking to Stephen about veterinarian things. Mm-hmm. Nice. All righty, we're gonna run along. We're gonna be back this evening at 6 o'clock. See you all then.
Great chat this morning, y'all.
Yeah, great chat. Let me see if I can find a tune here. What do? We need Christmas music, I guess, don't we? Music of Father Fish. Oh, we did Mary.
We got Morgan.
And you did
Well,
Phoebe.
yeah.
So
Roxanne.
Let's do Roxanne. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
And Roxanne, if you're lurking and listening, love you.
There she is.
And all the lurkers, love you guys.
All the lurkers, yeah. Hit the thumbs up.
So cute.
All right.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank
Roxy.
for the call. Oh,
Yes, thank
Absolute
you.
delight.
Petro Man said to check your phone from a 266 number.
All righty. Thank you all, guys. We'll see you. See you this evening. We'll be on tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, same time, 8 o'clock. That'll be Sunday. And then after that, it'll be 9 o'clock on Monday through Friday. Weekends, Saturday and Sunday, 6 o'clock in the evening. Nothing in the morning. So we'll see you all. See you all this evening. Thanks for plugging in and having
Bye-bye.
fun with Father Fish and gang. The Shoal. Bye
The
for
Shoal.
now. Love you all.
Bye, everyone. See you.